world is about to change. Are you ready for what lies ahead? Because we are going full throttle into a new digital norm, where it becomes the pulse of all future businesses, the lifeline of every economy, brains of cities, and heartbeat of enterprises. This pulse will unlock new modes and empower new ideas and innovation. Our heritage has already kept us ahead of what's next. Even when the world paused, we never stopped. We never gave up. We went fast forward, ahead into the future, and became the digital metamorphosis that went beyond borders. The pulse of digital economy will elevate. The pulse of new business will accelerate. The pulse of new industry models will ascend. Together, we will co-create the new world, because we are the pulse of digitalization.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our open forum focused on climate change this time. We're in collaboration with Alibaba Cloud. As you saw, we also started with a bang. They will present as well what they're doing. I think it's actually a pretty interesting pairing, given that climate change affects everybody, and at the same time, tech companies have a responsibility as well to respond. So I will start first from my side as Elena from Data Natives to tell you a little bit about us, and then making the link to tonight's agenda. So as I mentioned, this open forum is brought to you by Alibaba Cloud. They are doing some good stuff around AI for good and data science for social good. They have a challenge. A lot of you, I'm sure, are here because you really want to know more about that challenge. They have a challenge coming up, a competition where winners can win up to 100,000 US dollars in prizes. And they're also giving their Alibaba Cloud infrastructure to help you succeed in that. But of course, I will show you another video just before I will pass the torch to Oliver, who's giving the presentation about how Alibaba can shape the future. So let me first, though, tell you a little bit about us, Data Natives, that is, who are the main organizer of this event, the Open Forum, which is part of Data Natives Unlimited. So welcome to Data Natives. We were founded in 2015, so quite a long time ago by now, or so it feels, more than 5 years. And we have created a very strong network of more than 80,000 data experts, data scientists, developers, people who work in the tech industry, more or less. And with a mission nowadays as well, we are very strong supporters of anything that has to do with using that data science for social good or for impacting positively society and the environment. Hence the topic of today, climate change. And we've cultivated a community of like-minded individuals, and we are spread in 50 tech hubs, and we have this flagship event, Data Natives Conference, that happens every November. As you all know, this year has been different for everybody in different ways. So our flagship event is going digital. And it's not just one event, it's not only 2 days, it's a series of activities, starting with the hackathon and demo day that took place in September, the weekly open forums, this one of them, and then ending with the conference and the matchathon. So it's a lot of different activities, touching upon different type of people, from hackers, so people who really want to get their hands on and get their hands dirty on different technologies, to people like you attending here tonight who are more interested in open discussions and being part of roundtables, and then the conference, the matchathon, which is a little bit of both. And the matchathon is pretty much an event where we are trying to match people together. So But who are the data natives? Well, I guess everybody here is a data native. Those are some representative faces from our conference. You can see this is pretty much the vibe that we had. But data natives, from our perspective, is a community. It's a community of like-minded individuals that spans around the world. We are a family. We've been doing pretty much events to get everybody together. We've been putting out hackathons so that we can help you co-create the future that you want to be part of. And we also put content out on our publication and elsewhere. The data natives are young, they're agile and data driven. So we're talking about people who are between 25 to 34, maybe also 34 to 45. And they are representing really the next professionals. Like more than 75% of the global workforce by 2025 will be a data native. So we're here to stay, and we're here to put our foot down and form the world as we want it to be. And as I mentioned, geographically speaking, we're spread in more than 50 locations, from Berlin, where I'm currently at, to China, Shanghai, to other locations in Asia, Singapore, and so forth. We are from here to America and beyond. And yeah, and we're putting this, for all the community, we're putting this together. We already had the hackathon and the demo day in September, where more than 20 teams presented. Then we have been having the open forums. We have this one today and another one happening in 2 weeks about NLP. And we have the conference coming up at the end of November. This is a bit more details around the activities. I think actually I'm gonna stop here. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I would also like to I think that's a very interesting panel that we have today, or open forum, which would be unlike the other ones, because we're starting with a keynote presentation from Oliver Arafat, representing Alibaba and telling us what Alibaba is preparing for the future. But also afterwards, a really interesting panel discussion with 4 different people working, all of them in tech, but also finding solutions of how to fight climate change with data. So these 2 are very interesting, because on one hand, you will hear about a tech company that provides infrastructure for everybody, starting from e-commerce, now cloud, and then people who are here specifically starting by themselves, their own companies most like, from the audience, from the panelists, and they want to find ways to fight against climate change. So before I will present Oliver, or before Oliver will take on the stage, I would like to show you another video that would wed the 2. So essentially how actually Alibaba as a software as a cloud provider can also help for the betterment of the world. So give me a minute to show you the clip, to share the screen, I mean. There you go. Okay.
Every single day I live in gratitude for what I have and how I achieve what I have achieved. And that's why I have to give it back to other people. I came from a very difficult background as a child. You know, I was abandoned by my mother when we were 5 years old. At the age of 13 years old, I was trafficked from Senegal to France. I created I Am the Code to give young women and girls from deprived communities a chance to have an opportunity in life. So our mission is to get 1 million women and girls coders by the year 2030. Technology has no class, no gender, and no age. What is changing about technology is now the unusual people are having access to it. And then our girls are unusual people. They're not part of the mainstream. It's inspiring them. It's actually showing them, if you have someone holding your hand, that you can do this. We're inspiring young girls to dream big. Our partnership with Alibaba Cloud is to provide free courses to the African girls.
By the time they finish, they all want to become scientists and pilots and coders and developers. They become proud of themselves and they become independent. Even if I can change one girl at a time, I think that I have a unique voice to do this because I have been there.
All right, and now we're back. Oliver, are you ready to take on the stage?
I'm ready.
All right.
All right,
Cool.
so let me share my screen.
Yes.
Let's see if that works.
But okay, while you're working on the, okay, there you go. Familiar face again.
Yes.
Just letting everybody know that we've also just let the Evgenia has written to everybody on the Zoom chat. You can see the link to apply for the Alibaba Cloud Global AI Innovation Challenge. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat. On that note, I'll let you, Oliver, take on the stage and to start your presentation. See you in a bit.
Thanks. All right. So good evening, I assume, everybody in this call here. So I'm Oliver. I'm working as a senior solution architect at Ali Cloud, and today I wanted to share with you a little story how Alibaba is actually using AI to shape a better future, also to of course optimize our profits and revenue, but the focus will be more on how we use it to shape a better future. And in case you don't know Alibaba yet, I think one event you might already know is the Double 11. For those of you who don't know it or haven't heard about it yet, it's actually a Chinese event that was originally a novelty student holiday to celebrate being single, countering Valentine's Day. But it has since grown into a month-long online shopping festival that peaks with a 24-hour sale on November 11th. So this is why Double 11. And the numbers, I think, are really astonishing. So it's the biggest online sales event in the world, outstripping the sales of US shopping holidays like Black Friday or even Cyber Monday. And this year, the massive 24-hour shopping frenzy generated a record of 38 billion in total sales. And the first billion was achieved after 68 seconds. And I think this is interesting for a number of different reasons. It's, for me, it's not only these numbers like the 38 billion revenue or the over 1 billion orders that we also need to ship, right? There's actually a lot of logistics involved because we organize it ourselves and we coordinate it ourselves on our platform. But it's also the fact that such an event would not be possible without the AI technology that is in place. So at the end, it's really a pure tech play. Without the technology, such events wouldn't be possible. And just to give you some interesting numbers here, for example, my favorite number is that 98% of customer support cases are actually supported by AI. So, whenever someone has a problem ordering an item or has questions to certain items or products that are advertised there, they can directly chat or ask for support. But actually, these conversations, for the most part, are not handled by real humans, but are heavily assisted by AI technologies, by chatbots, for example. And last year, it was over 350 million conversations that took place in 132 countries in 9 languages. And that would equal up to 586,000 person days. So I think no company in the world can afford to hire over 500,000 people just to do the customer support, right? Also, if we look at translations, for example, our user base is globally distributed and they speak all sorts of languages. We need to translate the content dynamically. So there was 1 billion transactions or translations, sorry, which were done by AI technology. And if we look at how actually this technology is offered to the individual business units within the Alibaba Group, it's interesting to see that all of this is actually being done by the technology backbone of Alibaba Group. And this is Alibaba Cloud. So all of these services in the AI space, for example, are offered by Alibaba Cloud to our business units, like those business units in the digital media and entertainment space, like UQ, which is similar to Netflix, or Alibaba Music, which would be the Spotify of China, but also to our core commerce platforms, like in the B2C, C2C, C2B2C, 2B space. There's a lot of different e-commerce platforms that we're offering and where people are trading on and companies are trading on. And we are offering these services to all these individual business units. It's not only that we're offering these services to our internal business units, but of course, we're also offering these services to our external customers. Everybody can actually use these AI-powered services on our platforms and use them to build something on their own. And I think this is really interesting because all of what we're offering is actually being used by ourselves during the most important day for us revenue-wise, which is the W11. So these are really battle-tested services and have stood the test of time in really extraordinary scenarios. So Alibaba Cloud, in case you haven't heard of that, it's a public cloud provider. It's the #1 in Asia Pacific, #3 in the world, depends on how you count market share. But for most of the part, we consider ourselves #3 in the world after AWS and Azure. As you can see, we have regions worldwide in North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, of course, and everybody can just create an account and use these services to build their own applications. Of course, it's interesting to take a deeper look at the machine learning products and portfolio. Of course, we also have these infrastructure services, but there's a special focus on AI on Ali Cloud. And as you can see, there's services for image detection, tagging, scene detection, face detection, image search, speech recognition, text-to-speech. So all of these higher-level AI services that developers can use to quickly build applications or apps and to be able to really focus on their business scenario. So these high-level services are actually focused at people maybe who don't have a deep AI background, but just want to use, sort of ready services to quickly build something. But of course, there's also other services, which we call, Pi, the machine learning platform, which are more geared towards AI, scientists, engineers that have a solid AI background, where they can use all their, technology stacks like TensorFlow, MXNet, Caffe, to build their own AI models and then, train their models to do certain predictions, batch predictions, and real-time predictions really easily in a large scale. So it's, of course, not only about the tech stack and selling the tech stack to our customers and making even more profit, but I think the focus at Ali Cloud is really also about fighting the world's problems, such as hunger, world nutrition, climate change, health and education, and use these services and our expertise to help others to build something unique and tackle these challenges that we have today. And I think one example of that was already shown. We have this initiative called Tech for Change. And this initiative really aims to bring together creativity and innovation, right, to really tackle these challenges today faced by humanity. I mentioned it already: equality in education, healthcare for the underprivileged, sustainable agriculture, wildlife protection, climate change. And this is just a small selection here, what I'm showing, like the I am the code. We listened to Mariam Jam in this video, which goal is to educate 1 million women and girls to be coders by 2030. And Alibaba is supporting this with our own technology, with our own people and expertise to really help these young women and girls to get their hands-on experience with the new technology. But then we're also supporting, of course, startups like Roby. I'm not sure if you have heard about Roby. It's a really cool device. It's actually an intelligent robot for children that teaches different languages and subjects, and adapts to the voice of the child and the facial expressions of the child. And the child, they can have really meaningful conversations with this device and learn new languages about all sorts of subjects you learn in the school. So this isn't like a replacement for a teacher, but at the end, I think it's a very good device to at least complement maybe today's education, and also help people maybe who don't have so much luck with parents helping them all the time at school, for example. Another initiative which we are supporting and which I think is really great is the hunger map by the World Food Program. And this is actually a web application that every one of you can access. I've posted the link in there, hungermap.wfp.org. It helps the World Food Program to get real-time insights and predictions on the current state of the food security situation in the world. And actually, I can show you the live demo here. So this is just the website. And as you can see, it aggregates information from all sorts of sources worldwide that is available to give like a real-time overview about the current state if it comes to current food consumption. So I can drill down to Niger here in this case and get an overview about how many percent in a certain regions suffer from insufficient food consumption, for example. I also have here on the left side like a trend where I can see the development of the insufficient food consumption in a particular region or country. So I think this really helps the WFP to get a real-time insight and like an alarm bell to quickly be aware of in what kind of regions there's really a need for immediate help. Also, we are constantly integrating new data sources, like climate-related data sources like the rainfall. And as you can see, here's the legend here, below average. So the more brown it is, the more below average it is compared to the last 20 years on average. So as you can see, also in Europe, we see the effects of climate change, I think, tremendously here. It's become really dry, and there's not so much rain anymore than it used to be. So it's really a great tool to get real-time insights into what's going on, actually. And of course, this runs on Ali Cloud and makes use of our services in the AI space and big data space. So, if I was to summarize our approach on AI, I think this is really what comes really close. And it was actually said by Minwan Lee, our former chief data scientist of Ali Cloud. And he said, while other companies invest time in board games, we make ambulances faster. I think there's nothing wrong in building very sophisticated algorithms that can play chess or Go much better than a human being. But I think focusing on the immediate or on the big problems in the world and trying to solve them with technology is maybe even better. And this is actually what Alibaba is doing constantly. And many of these initiatives are under this umbrella, which we call ET Brain. So there's different AI-based solutions for different verticals even, like in the smart city space, in the logistics space, in the energy space, in the healthcare space, in the environmental space, in the aviation space. For example, at the Beijing Capital International Airport, Alibaba Cloud ET Aviation Brain not only implements the security checks, but also parking bay dispatching. So that means it uses methods such as logistics optimization, cognitive inversion to refresh the parking arrangements of 1,700 flights within 5 seconds, which improves the utilization of bridge parking bays by 10%. And this means that 20,000 passengers do not take the shuttle bus every day, which can also have a tremendous effect on the climate, or and such makes an impact for good. Another example that I want to show to you is in the agricultural space, where we use our solutions to improve the life of farmers and also rural farmers. So I think many of you know also from other technology providers, maybe these face recognition services, which are really easy to use, where you can upload images and then the algorithm tells you the age and the sex of the particular persons. But it's interesting that you can also use this technology like we do with, for example, cattle recognition and tagging. So we help farmers actually with our technology to identify each individual cattle, for example, based on the hoof stripes or the body stripes. So each cattle has a unique ID. And then you can use this ID to actually pinpoint those animals which have certain changes in physical appearance. So our algorithms are able actually, as you can see with the horse here, to detect if there's anything wrong from a physical appearance of that animal, or if there's a variation in physical activity. If it's not moving at all, maybe if it's sitting the entire day at just one spot, there might be something wrong with this animal. Also, voice analysis of different body states is possible. And this helps farmers also in rural areas to optimize the way they do farming, and also to I think make it a better living for the animals also on these livestock plants. Also, if we go away from the cattle and the meat, if we just look at plants, we can also use that, and we are using that, for example, to accurately and efficiently identify the number of panicle of corn with different light conditions based on our image recognition technology. So in that way, also farmers can instantly see how the panicles are growing, how they're developing, and also count them, and as such get much more precise forecast about their harvesting, which is, I think, is great. So actually, we want to encourage every one of you and every startup and AI developers and innovators to use our cloud technology, and especially our AI-based services and solutions that we have, to build something new and unique, and to help actually solving these big global challenges that we're seeing here on Earth. And this is why we have launched this challenge that Elena has mentioned before. And it's really open for AI developers, researchers, startups, solution providers, anyone who wants to build something that involves AI. So basically, everyone can join. There are really just some requirements, like you have to use Alibaba Cloud, so our cloud platform. It needs to be, some kind of AI product or project. So just a simple website won't qualify. It must involve artificial intelligence or machine learning learning to solve a real problem. And you need to use like our special machine learning platform that we're offering as a service to train your models. Okay, so if these three simple requirements are met, you have qualified already to participate in our challenge. What are the judging criteria? Really simple. Number one, innovation and creativity. Okay, it's very subjective, but still, it's a criteria. The technical complexity and feasibility, also very important. And last but definitely not least, business or social value. Okay. So what are the themes and topics then? Because it's quite open, but we try to frame it a little bit, and we have divided it into three categories. In AI and internet applications like e-commerce, social media, AI and industrial production, like anything with healthcare, energy, transportation, and last but not least, AI for good. So anything that tackles one of these big challenges: climate change, health and education, world nutrition. This is also a very, very good project that would qualify in our challenge. So almost last slide. Quick look at the timeline. So we're already a little bit late. So it's just 2 weeks until the first round ends. So if you want to attend, start today, register your account, start today, because the first round will end on November 1st. Okay. By then, you will have to submit your first prototype at least. Okay. So I know not too much time, but I think it's still doable. If you want to register, here's the link. Maybe I think we also shared it maybe in the chat or on our social media postings. Go there, go to our landing page, and there you will find much more information. Okay, so last slide, last words, and I wanted to have Jack Ma actually the last words of this talk, because I think he said something very extraordinary, which is I think completely in line or perfectly summarizes our strategy and our view on AI. He said, the first technology revolution caused the World War I, and the second technology revolution caused the World War II. And now we have the third revolution, which is actually AI. And he said, if there's a World War III, I think that should be against disease, pollution, and poverty, and not against ourselves. In this sense, thanks a lot for listening and attending. And I think there's now a networking session for 10 minutes. I will be there. If you want to connect with me or have further questions, feel free to connect with me. Let's have a chat. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Oliver. Indeed, finishing on a very nice note of how actually the third revolution should be like.
Yes.
To fight against all things that have been all things that have put us behind, take us back. So indeed, we have now the networking session that is happening in the Wonder Room. Evgenia just shared the space, the link. So in order to enter the networking session, please use this link. And Oliver will be there to meet you. So you can, in order to go to the networking session, you need to leave this room. So join that link, go meet Oliver, and we will be back in 10 minutes to continue with our panel discussion. Of course, all the attendees are more than welcome to stay in the networking area and come whenever they want to. We will now share we will basically now go on a break. We will share the banner for the break. So Oliver, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for sharing your what you guys are doing with Alibaba Cloud, and looking forward to hearing more as well what happens afterwards in the end of October with the challenge, and as well seeing the results perhaps at the November conference, which is happening 18th to 19th of November.
Yep.
So we are actually going to be back probably at 1:45, but for now, see you soon. Ciao.
Bye.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. We are here now for the second part of our session today, specifically focusing on climate change as the main topic. For everyone who still would like to meet the speaker from before, Oliver Arafat from Alibaba, you can do so in the link to enter the networking space. We will continue here with the panel conversation with the wonderful panelists that we have today. They're all doing different things to fight climate change from different perspectives, and really, first of all, very happy to have you all here. I'll be moderating the discussion, and I'm also very happy that there is a gender balanced conversation here. So we have 50-50 representation, which is great. And we have Lubomila Jordanova, who's the founder of Plan A. If for whoever is here in Berlin and they don't know Plan A, it's a great initiative doing fantastic things to fight and protect the environment using data science, and because there's no plan B for the plan. We have Brittany Salas, who is the board member and co-founder at Active Giving, I think currently in California for some time, otherwise also in Berlin, and she founded Active Giving together with her other co-founders, which is a great initiative. Giving both to the planet, but also to yourself, doing good for yourself and to the planet. She will tell us more about it. Peter Sanger, who is the co-founder and executive managing director at Green City Solutions GmbH, connected through Brittany, so as a partner of Active Giving. So we're really happy to hear also what you guys have worked together on. And last but certainly not least, Shahir Hussam, who's the CEO and co-founder at Atlam. And it's really nice to have a conversation with 4 entrepreneurs here who are actively doing something through their work, positively, like thinking how they can have a business and at the same time be sustainable, do actually a business for the good of the environment. And I think that's how I would like to start. So everybody, would be great if you introduce yourself and actually tell us why you chose to focus on impact and sustainability in your entrepreneurial journey. Lubomila, would you like to start? Or
Sure,
Peter,
yeah.
Unmuting.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm always so happy to be at the same stage as you and share thoughts on data. Plan A has at its core climate data science and has had this since the beginning. Essentially, what we do at Plan A is 2 products. One is an algorithm that predicts where and how climate change will hit the hardest. This is a work of over 300,000 data points that essentially are connected and through the use of AI, enable companies to see the 20 to 30 year horizon in terms of climate risks. And then the second thing that is more I would say the widely popular aspect of Plan A is our software that helps companies calculate, monitor, and reduce their emissions. This is an automated platform that collects the data of a company through ERP systems, integrations, visualizes everything, and then enables the company to see how they can start reducing their emissions. More than half of my team is climate data scientists, which is pretty exciting because it gives us a totally different perspective on the challenges we have to solve. And we kind of call ourselves science first and data and tech second company.
Great.
So I can follow up. My name is Brittany. I am a co-founder and founding board member of Active Giving, and my mission really is to connect individual well-being with the health of the planet and use technology and science to enable that process. So I think kind of going back to the original question as to why science or being an entrepreneur and focusing on impact or sustainability is important. And for me, it was really about just finding a true problem and then leveraging the tools, some of the most efficient that are out there in order to solve that problem. So in that sense, when we look at something like climate change, it's almost a no-brainer in a lot of ways, kind of both leveraging economics and technology to ensure that that solution, or that humanity is able to come up with a solution for that. Just as a quick overview of active giving itself, what it does or how it kind of facilitates that connection is by turning calories burned or kilometers covered into trees planted in global reforestation projects. And that's done through a fitness app that anyone can use to actually track their activities, and from there see the rewards of trees that are planted on their behalf. So we're using a lot of information regarding the different types of fitness activities and how many trees are out there and the different projects that are kind of contributing to planting trees. And then, as we'll hear from Green City Solutions, a more, let's say, newer green tech approach to air quality that can support the science, or basically what trees are actually doing in their natural, I would say, lifetime. But yeah, that was just a quick introduction, and happy to share more later on. Also, thank you very much for the invitation, Elena.
A pleasure. Peter.
That was also a perfect introduction. So thank you very much for letting us join. My name is Peter. I am co-founder and CEO of Green City Solutions, and we help our cities worldwide to be more resilient towards the big challenges of climate change by providing them with fresh and clean air coming from our biological and data-driven air purifiers. They are based on a biological organism, moss cultures, and they are able to cool and clean our air we are breathing in the city environment. And we started Green City Solution back in 2013 because we believe that we need to show the world that sustainable driven business models can work out, can be successful, can earn money, because we think that business models which are being successful on the expenses of society or the environment itself shouldn't be profitable anymore in the future. And therefore, we want to showcase that you have a sustainable approach or a sustainable product, and that can be also successful in the market and creating therefore scalable impact because it works economic and ecological wise. That's it.
Thanks, Elena, for the invitation. It's great to be here with you guys and the other fantastic panelists. I'll say, I'm almost 40, and I've been this since I was a sophomore in college in renewable energy or energy efficiency. So it's phenomenal to see that finally at conferences like this, data is treated so critically as it is in our business. I'm co-founder of Atlan with Anthony Birdie, who's really the data science expert on the team. And our basic job, and it's been a continuation of my work for Mastered Energy over 10 years ago, is to help make renewable energy assets faster and easier to build. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And of course, getting renewable energy built is crucial, I think, in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to talking on the other topics as well with the rest of the panelists.
Thank you, everybody. As I said from the beginning, it's a very well-balanced also panel that of speakers who are all entrepreneurs and all doing something actively to protect the environment in one way or another. I've been listening to you and what you're saying. I keep on, for me, the repeated pattern is that the mindset, and actually how we have to change also our mentality when it comes to creating projects or products with the sustainability embedded in it, and how actually we can have both profitability and sustainability. And so before bringing up the numbers and the data on climate change, I would really like to talk about the mindset that surrounds the challenge. So how do you manage to convince and show the benefit of being mindful about climate change when working with individuals or established companies? I think perhaps Lubomina, you can take the lead on that or start with this question, because that's also it's the core of your product as well, to help them change their way they work. So
yeah, it's quite of a challenging question and topic, because I think the world has existed for a long time in its own ways that have kind of been shaped by focus on profitability and also focus on optimization, which quite often meant maybe not so environmentally friendly products. And the approach that we have taken is twofold. On one side, we educate our customers. And then the second aspect is that we actually calculate how much money they're saving so that they can start like thinking about the capabilities that they can further add just by doing something sustainable. On the first topic, how do we educate? Well, essentially, we have embedded in our process of using the platform a lot of explanation on why sustainability is an important topic, how a business can benefit, what does it mean for your stakeholders, so losing access to your stakeholders, and how in the longer term, you're gonna have to like potentially retrain people and gain new customers because you've lost the previous ones because you didn't adapt quickly enough. On the second topic, we basically focus on translating CO2 emissions and unsustainable actions in loss of money. We kind of always give proposals on how things can be done sustainably as part of our reduction plans. And this means that we need to be kind of really diligent and focused on accuracy. These two approaches really work because companies are starting to see how their revenues are changing if they adopt sustainability strategies and if they start developing some product lines that are sustainable.
Anyone else would like to add? Peter.
I can keep it from here, but I totally have to agree on Lubomila's first topic because we don't want to be the ones who say, hey, you have to be, and we have to convince you. It's more like asking, I mean, we are cooperating with the big corporates and also the cities, asking them what their end consumers are expecting. And what we can see is luckily a tremendous change in the behavior and the senses of the society, what they are willing to do and how they are starting to be more aware in terms of protecting our environment and acting also a bit more sustainable. And therefore it's good to ask the people if they want to surf also on that wave, and if they have chosen everything into consideration, that they fit to the needs of their clients they want to have in the future. So therefore, I totally agree with that. Besides that, of course, we can also help out with a lot of numbers, how the economic loss looks like in Europe, in the world, every single year by air pollution itself or the climate change in that. And if you have a look on the numbers of insurances, what they are proclaiming for the future, it's also huge numbers. And of course, that helps also for the more rational people to see that there is a huge demand on working today on topics to ensure that we don't have to pay all these losses in the future.
Yes, indeed. I think that there's also like changing the mentality of actually like how loss would look like in the future. Because I think until recently, saving money, being more cost efficient in a specific regard meant being more profitable in the future, but that's not the case. It actually backfires in the future. Brittany, would you like also to share from your perspective how active giving is working closely with companies and how you are trying to change the mindset there?
Sure. So we work with companies in the sense that we want to facilitate employee engagement programs, or basically work with different organizations to embed this eco-conscious mentality into the organization itself, and therefore support initiatives that could then be launched on a larger scale, whether that be investment into clean technology, or whether that be kind of just a more refined approach to, let's say, energy efficiency within the company itself. But in order for that to happen, we really noticed that what needed to take place was sustainability had to be a priority for the individual. And that concept had to be understood on a regular habitual basis if it was going to come into the decision-making power of, I don't know, let's say any specific business unit that was going to carry out a project, or any C-level executive that was going to sign something off. And so this is kind of where active giving would play a role to kind of facilitate this cultural transformation towards something that's a bit more sustainable, or hopefully a lot more sustainable. And that would just empower individuals really to connect being environmentally sustainable to their fitness activities, and therefore benefiting not just the environment, but also themselves, and making that understanding and that very strong connection between, hey, climate change is a really big problem, and it seems almost impossible for one person to ever solve. But if there's a clear incentivization between personal well-being and between this bigger problem, then it can draw that connection between individual action and kind of the wider organizational response that needs to occur. And then I think in terms of just, we're focused a lot on creating something for athletes or people who like to be active. And so if you look at athletes that are in summer sports, let's say they're surfing and the tides are changing and that's affecting their seasons, or you're looking at athletes who are in winter sports and they're skiing and their seasons are getting shorter, less predictable, and you have these severe weather-related instances as a result of climate change that are actually impacting the ability of athletes to continue down their passion, their professional career. And so that's why I think sports and fitness, it connects physical action, it connects personal well-being. And then you have it on a much more competitive scale as well, where the effects of climate change directly impact those individuals. And so that's some of the ways that we're kind of working around making that connection and making people kind of more aware of how climate change affects their daily lives.
Yeah, I can add a bit. I want to make a general comment, I think, that sort of applies to all of us, and then specifically what Atlan's seen with companies. One of the fascinating aspects of climate change, it's super interdisciplinary. So whenever you deal with companies, you really have to hit the technological aspect, the financial, and of course, the social or political aspect. So for example, if you're building a renewable energy facility, it's super critical early on to explain what the financial returns can be if it's a private sector client. And when you're dealing with a lot of stakeholders, you're looking to get a solar farm built on an important piece of land. There's a community involvement, there's different regulators. And so having an interdisciplinary aspect, both in your individual approach and with the team, is crucial, I think, in anything related to climate change. For us at Atlan, we saw, the process to get renewable projects built is quite slow. It can be 2 to 5 or more years, depending on the size of the project and when you're building it. A lot of that involves document processing. So what we found that is a lot of document processing approaches can actually be automated with all sorts of new approaches that hadn't really been applied to renewable energy development before. And so we're running some of that with our initial clients now, and so far it's working well.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, I would like to ask specifically you, Shahir, from your perspective. We need to bridge the gap of our transition to clean energy with efficient ways. So how, for example, can technologies like data and AI help in finding solutions from your perspective with Atlan? How do you do that?
Well, I think it's inherent in this business, dealing with massive data sets. So for example, if you're looking to build a wind farm, at the very early stages, you need, in general, 18 months of data. So you got to get the Met Tower up there to get the wind readings, then you need a team to process it, to get a sense of, okay, what's the wind generation going to be like over the extended period of time? There's all sorts of analysis you do when you're looking at selling the power to try and predict what the power prices are going to be in that region, and to get a competitive rate. For us, some of the most interesting parts was when we were looking at offering a service to help find early stage solar or wind projects to buy. So if you're a large utility or a large fund looking to buy a smaller solar wind project, how do you sift through hundreds of documents, hundreds of pages per document, hundreds of documents to figure out what's going on? And historically, a lot of that was done by hand, but if you actually the Alibaba stuff was quite interesting. We've looked at a number of different cloud providers. You can put a lot of that up online and process that automatically or in a semi-automated fashion. And so that helps speed up the project identification stage of renewable energy development quite a bit. And this, you couldn't do this that easily or at all 10 years ago, for sure. And even 5 years ago was tough.
What about plan A? How do you guys use data science?
I would say about data science and AI both, because I think they kind of tied hand in hand in terms of achieving the goal that we have, that is basically fully automating the data collection process for companies to calculate their carbon footprint. Data analysis is at the core of all that we do. Basically, all the methodologies that we have on the platform are driven by climate data scientists and life cycle analysts, and they have essentially packaged this up so that it can serve as the backbone of the platform. We use it to develop the formulas that are calculating the emissions and translating any value in emissions, because we collect a lot of different types of data. It could be kilowatts of electricity. It could be sustainable purchases or unsustainable purchases. It could be money values that then are translated again in emissions. So that's one aspect. And this is incredibly important to explain that when it comes to climate data science, this should not be mixed up with data science, because it's a totally different ballgame. Any data scientist cannot be a climate data scientist, or at least not with some kind of pedigree, some work on the topic. And that's something that I think it's still not known enough as a fact. And some people kind of think that they can just enter the field with just data knowledge or trading knowledge or something along these lines. When it comes to AI, so one thing that for many or the people that are familiar with the complexity of doing CO2 calculations when it comes to all the scopes and essentially like every single aspect of the production of a car, for example, you can imagine how complex this is. There's still some data points that just cannot be found. Even Volkswagen is not able to find them, which means that harnessing the power of machine learning can only support this to essentially lead to a value that is not only believable, but like a tangible value in alignment to reality, to at least like 60 to 80% accuracy. And this really empowers companies like us to essentially be supporting companies tangibly to change their CO2 emissions, not simply giving them some average values that maybe can be found somewhere when you look them up online.
Very important distinction indeed. This about precision here, isn't it? Brittany, actually diverting a little bit from the topic of data science, but very much related to what you have decided to do with Active Giving, which is pretty much incentivizing people to do something by doing good to themselves. I was actually wondering, on the topic of climate change and the environment, why did you choose specifically to help plant trees and not something else? Why was that the focus?
Yeah, I mean, so this is interesting because it also does link back to the use of data as well. That can be used to calculate an individual's impact, their carbon footprint. It can be used to understand how different agents interact with one another and social interaction, modeling that circumstance as well. But the thing with carbon is that, yes, it is great to measure. I believe having a footprint will be something that everyone is aware of, and everything will have a label, and eventually that's going to be a new standard, just like we work in calories. But at the same time, I think trees are just, they're easy. People know what they are. You can give them a hug in real life and like get it. So I think that simplicity is kind of helps take away this this dissonance between an individual and the understanding of the long-term effects of climate change. It kind of makes it a little bit more tangible and able for individuals to connect to. I also find that they're not typically as politicized as maybe some of the topics. Like, unfortunately, climate change is a political topic, and it doesn't make sense because we're all humans and we all have to face it. But at least with trees, we can all generally enjoy them, whether it be in a park in the middle of a city or when it be more of a large scale project. Like so in the case of, fighting deforestation from agriculture and, maybe another continent. So there's a few different approaches. We see that deforestation, I think one stat I read had actually resulted in as much carbon being emitted as half of the energy sector had in the US last year, so in 2019. So it does have a very similar impact, the way that trees are being managed on the planet, and is a way for people to take action. Yeah, I think that I'll stop there.
Very good point, and a very, very good explanation. I see this one question. It's not exactly a question, actually. It's more back to the topic of renewable energy. I don't know, Shahir, you're here. There's someone who would love to help you out. They're interested to help specifically your project. I don't know if you want to reach out to them. Sort of drawing that attention, and anyone who has any questions, by the way, anyone who has any questions or would like to offer their services or help any of the causes here, let us know. I'm pretty sure they would all appreciate any kind of help they can get, whether that is for climate data scientist or any other volunteer work. I think like it takes a village to be able to overcome this difficulty. I would like to ask, because we talked a little bit about companies and changing the mindset. We talked about people actually and how we can incentivize them. But what about municipalities, or what about city authorities? So I know, Peter, you basically, your innovative product is meant to better the air quality in the cities. So how welcoming are the city authorities to integrating these types of innovations in the EU and outside of the EU?
That's a pretty good question. So I have to make a switch between Germany and the rest of Europe, to be honest, because it's sometimes really hard to incorporate with German cities. But what we learned over the time is that it's not enough to just provide a product to the cities, but present them a solution. And therefore, that's where data also is coming in the game, because we need to show them, first of all, where they have the major problems in the city, and that's not normally there where you would expect it, maybe from a long and really traffic loaded road, but air pollution is passing through the city, and sometimes you wouldn't expect where air pollution is in a hotspot situation. And therefore, first of all, we bring this together, we show them a heat map of these certain locations, and then we can guide them and consult them a bit what they could do. And our product, our city tree, is a piece of this overall solution. And then it's good for the city authorities to understand, okay, this is a major problem. We can have a major activity plan against that. One piece could be green city solutions, but it can be also more. And then, of course, it's necessary to provide them afterwards, when you implemented our solution, with data of the improvement. You can show them the cleaned air amounts and also the improvement of these hotspot locations. And then it makes sense for them. And of course, with every reference in a city, you can easier step into other cities. Next month, we will launch a big project in Cork. It's in Ireland. You wouldn't expect air pollution there, but they have a really high sensitivity in terms of the citizens wanted to have our solution there. And then it's obviously a bit easier to dive in there. And yeah, as I said, it's good to have a package of solution bringing into the table, into the game, and then it can work out.
Great, thanks, Peter. So numbers, and not only numbers, but also we need to talk about precise roles. So we're not talking about data scientists, we're talking about climate data scientists. So I guess a question to all of you, and whoever would like to start first, take on the answer of this, is that we're all, I think, like data scientists or not, we're all, whoever is, I mean, okay, maybe generalizing, not all, whoever is alert and aware of the climate phenomenon right now, and they want to do something, we're all fighting against this. We've seen the results of how, I mean, to be honest, like this is I'm in Berlin. This is the first week which is cold here. I feel like it was summer until now. We all know about the wildfires that took place in California, and they've been devastating for the environment. And in Australia last winter, etc., etc. I mean, it's gonna only get worse, and it's good that we are alert. But here specifically, we are talking about we have a specific number of people here in this community that they're data scientists. So I would like to ask you from your perspective, with what you've started already as a movement, what role will data science and data scientists play in this fight?
If I can allow myself to start, because there's immediately practical ideas that I'm coming up with. I believe in the power of data. I think we're going to be only more and more adding data perspective to the different issues that we face as a society. And this enables us, as it was discussed by Alibaba, as it was discussed by all of us here, it enables us to really tangibly understand how we are working on addressing these issues. When it comes to data scientists or climate data scientists, one example that is really practical is the Open Collabathon. Planet is a partner for Berlin. It's an initiative by Yale University and their Open Climate Lab, where they basically invite it's called a Collabathon. It's a hackathon that is collaborative. It's happening all across the world, and with partners spanning from India up until Paris and Tokyo, like all over the world. And all of them are working together on different solutions over the course of a weekend that then are taken from the university to be applied across different domains, and sometimes even lead to more practical application. I know a few startups that came out of this and are still existing. And you see how, and because we've been involved in 2 now versions of this, you see how it evolves, and how from the first version of the product, now it's something that basically the first idea was like, how do we build a Bloomberg for climate change, like the equivalent of the Bloomberg portal. And that was kind of built after the first one and only perfected after the second one. So there's many of these examples, and if anyone is searching for kind of a place to get involved, I think universities, these kinds of initiatives are a good start. And if you're out of ideas, also get in touch with, I'm sure all of us here have space to discuss and give ideas on how people can get involved further.
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. By the way, Elena, in response, anyone listening, feel free to find me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk and see how we can collaborate. Lubomila, I agree with what you said. There's data science expertise, but you also need the domain experience as well. And I think that's crucial sort of in any of our initiatives. I think one aspect to add, at least with renewables, is that, sometimes it feels like, one approach is the only solution. And I think it's crucial to think of, at least in energy, think of all of this as a portfolio. When we're talking about, improving things on the energy side, it's a portfolio of energy efficiency initiatives, solar, wind, even other approaches that aren't necessarily as conventional. And I think that's sometimes missed in these discussions. But I'll let the other panelists go ahead.
Cool. I mean, so for active giving, long-term vision, there is a central focus on individual behavior change, and kind of creating profiles for individuals around consumption patterns, around the information that is consumed by individuals, and how that affects what information they need to make more eco-conscious decisions. If there's anyone out there who's interested in kind of dissecting those topics a bit more with a background in data science, or ideally even machine learning, please come reach out to me. So we're definitely building a founding team that will focus a lot more on how individuals can understand their user profiles and the information they're generating, and how that can be leveraged to provide more eco-conscious decision-making factors, or different ways to help individuals become eco-conscious in their daily lives. All of that's going to take a lot of work. So anyone who's interested in joining a founding team, please definitely reach out to me. I'd love to chat.
I just can add maybe that thanks to more climate data specialists and the big data of climate data, we can understand the problem even better. And for me, of course, often you hear, why should I, as an individual, can stop the change or do something against this huge problem? And from my perspective, the more data we have, the better we understand the problem and the huge impact of the problem and how can we stop it. And there is still the chance to stop it, and we understand even better what needs to be done and how much of that, and that helps also to tackle. And therefore, I think it's really good to have as much as we can from data, because then it's much easier to find the right solutions. And as Shahir said, it's a portfolio, it's a lot of things has to work together, but as it starts and it works together, then data can also help us to track this record and to see how our forward going is doing and how we are in time between 2030 and 2050 to reach our goals to stop the climate change. So therefore, I think it's definitely a chance, and it's also gives us help and hope and the next steps we have to go.
So Lubomila did say a bit about how you guys are helping using data on supporting companies specifically on measuring their CO2 emissions and actually containing them. But in what other aspects do you think of managing climate change will data play a major role? And does that mean that we need to start hiring more data scientists? I'm pretty sure here there's a lot of people who want to be connected to you. Actually, I even see them writing here in the chat. So I don't think there will be an issue in finding talent. There's also someone on YouTube, Brittany, who wants to connect with you, and they're asking if LinkedIn would be the right way. Yes, LinkedIn, great. So yes, back to the question. Let me know if you want me to repeat, because you
sorry, I was on mute. Did you meant like, do we need more data scientists and what is the role of data science for climate change in general?
Exactly, like or data. How else can data? Because I know you've been all very much advocating it, but some more examples. Or
one of the things that we stumbled upon when we were building the algorithm is that there's a lot of data inconsistencies. So the moment when you get into international level of data collection and analysis, you end up with, unfortunately, missing a lot of data gaps, especially when it comes to geographies which have been politically unstable. There's really difficult setup to be able to make the full picture of what climate change means in these places. So if anyone is listening and is looking for a challenge, I can send you a list of a lot of basically missing data sets and kind of opportunities for projects where data can be collected. And when I say this, I also mean it for just topical gaps. Yes, on one side, there's gaps in terms of data about general topics in geographies that have had political instability, but there's also like for countries even like Germany, there's data that is missing on certain topics that just have not been a priority for the government. So that's something that is a challenge, and I'm sure as we go along the way and we would like to look for more accuracy and for more answers, a lot more people would be added to the workforce, and we can see it with our work, but also with the work of our clients who are adding these kinds of mindset, this kind of capabilities on their teams.
Maybe I can give two opposing perspectives, which can be helpful. I think one is that certainly anything that can help with deeper analysis is always nice, and also more access to data to give other stakeholders and all sorts of stakeholders perspective. But the other aspect is that sometimes we think with more data, more technology, everything will automatically be better. I mean, if you want to look, there's a whole philosopher behind it, Yevgeny Morozov, the idea of solutionism. And I think that's not always necessarily true. And I think what I would urge, anyone listening, anyone interested in this space, I think on top of sort of, deepening your quantitative insight, I think is the practical experience, in the field, on the ground, as an entrepreneur or working for a startup, for different types of firms that can really really offer the balance that I think, if you're drowning in numbers all day, you might have this illusion of confidence, which is not good either. Right. So I think always look at different perspectives for whatever specific challenge you're working on. And, I wouldn't, I tell myself the same, don't try and fall in the trap of more data and more tech is a obvious answer.
If I can just add something, because I'm fully aligned with what you're saying, I think one really great example is like, there's been a lot of projects on how sexist data is, for example, when it comes to people with disabilities, when it comes to actually how certain products are developed based on user testing with like multiple users and so on. And that's kind of another validation of what you're saying, Shahir, of the fact that data is not always the right way to look at it. Maybe this is another problem that needs fixing.
Well, actually, then I by the way, I just Googled that book. I haven't read it, Shahir. I will definitely buy it. But I do also fall in the trap of like, tech will save the world because it's tech. Changing a little bit the subject, but very much on point in terms of how it's been this last year, essentially. So, I mean, according to the World Health Organization, about 7 million people die every year due to problems related to air pollution. However, it seems that this year has been full of COVID-19 when it comes to how seriously we've taken things, how important it has been, how much it affected our lives. Mind you, it's a pandemic, but I think like there was a sense of urgency when it came to this, and with climate change, even with what's happening in the world, there's not the same sense of urgency. So why do you think people are not taking climate change as seriously? Or is it just our media perspective that they're not?
Yeah, so I can start off with saying that the difference between how like COVID has affected people and how climate change is affecting individuals and communities is a time scale and kind of the immediacy in which we see a response, and also the immediate threat to our daily lifestyles. The way I think to kind of lessen that dissonance between individuals or between this concept of climate change and well-being is through incentivizing or creating more rewards for the individual. So basically going off some very key instincts that kind of revolve around this sense of one, wanting to take care of individuals or take care of people around us. And then two, also kind of feeling this sense of stress or urgency. I don't know how many of you guys out there kind of read the news and see all of these problems and they get this feeling of just ultimate anxiety. It's just like, oh, cut. And then it's a response to just kind of shut down. So presenting and communicating solutions that instead of drawing out this immediate response of shutting down, rather drawing out, okay, how can we take action? What can I do right now? And how can I contribute to making climate change not so much of an issue in the future? In terms of like thinking and incentivizing people to take more action, yes, creating a sense of positive awareness around it. So it's not just a model of this is a really bad problem that we need to fix, but rather something like how can we be, let's say, happy about individuals, like about how we're contributing to these issues as individuals as well. So that it's not such a topic that people are turned away from the very beginning, but rather something that is kind of open and gets people excited and motivated to contribute to. So that's it.
Yeah, so when I have a look back, the first numbers from the WHO from 2013 was already the 7 million deaths premature caused by air pollution. Now we are approximately 8.5 million, so it's still increasing, which is tremendous. But it is already there. Sometimes I see this as the biggest difference towards COVID, because it came something technically overnight. Of course, we have seen it in China first, but then it came over, and from today to tomorrow, everything was different. And I don't know if it's also some dealing, because climate change is the Earth against human, and at COVID-19, it's human against human, because infected people have to stay away from the other ones, and we have risk groups which are more infected or more risky than other groups, and therefore we have also something in the society which makes it more emotional, hard to understand why COVID is coming and the impact out of that. So maybe this is the biggest difference between climate change and something like a pandemic. But it's really, really hard to define from my perspective.
I think an interesting study that was done by the UN is fully aligned with what Brittany was saying. So they found out, because they did a huge survey to understand why people were not focusing on climate change as a topic in their day-to-day, and why they were not even like considering changing their behavior or like even panicking. There was two main reasons. One was that the time span. So they weren't able to see the results quickly enough to think that it's something that has to do with them. So the shift was so slow and so gradual that they didn't feel like they were contributing to anything bad. And yeah, there was a bit of a YOLO mindset where kind of maximize what you have now. The second reason was that it was about geographical distribution of the issue. So the more you were distant from an issue, the less you cared about it. And that's I guess the fact that now we've seen a lot of unfortunate events across the US, across I would say the richer parts of Asia, then you have also across Australia, has led to a bit more, I would say, panic and consideration. But in the past, or at least like 3-5 years ago, the reason why there was no action was related to this. And I think it's still like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also a difference, just to end it up, if you hear that you can overcome a pandemic by changing your behaviors for, let's say, half a year or for several weeks, getting into a lockdown. On the other side, for stopping climate change, you have to change your whole behavior forever. And this is also something which is really, more difficult to understand and to accept. And maybe therefore it's also okay just to stop to be like you are for a certain time of a lockdown.
Very good points. Yes, so at this point, I would like to invite anyone from the audience that would like that would want to ask questions. We've had a couple on comments on YouTube. Genevieve Barold, she would like to get in touch with Brittany, but also agrees with Sahir when it comes to the shift that needs to come and understand that every part has something to offer and is important, if not crucial. I don't know if anyone else from the audience would like to ask any questions. Otherwise, do you guys have any additional remarks, anything that you'd like to say to everybody around the topic? No final
we've all exhausted the suggestions we can make. Maybe I can just say like something on the positive note. I think in my life as someone that was totally oblivious to climate change and fully shifted my existence because of learning about the issues, I think there's always space for improvement, and there's always space for like concern, and we need to be doing a lot. But for all the people that are here, I think well done on taking the first step, or like the 10th or the 20th, because we just need to start educating ourselves a bit more. I think the biggest issue with regards to the topic is that we're not necessarily aligned with the facts, and that makes us less prone to taking the right action. So I think we here are kind of taking our steps, and I encourage everyone who feels like maybe concerned and doesn't have enough information, get in touch, like on LinkedIn or whatever. But like, one big step has been made, and this is kind of opening the door that this topic exists. And I can tell you from experience, unfortunately, that's not the truth for many people yet. And we need to acknowledge this, and that's why we need to also educate ourselves to become advocates of this topic.
Thank you, Lubomila. And actually, there's a question for you by AK. What exactly is the algorithm to get the CO2 impacts? Not proprietary stuff, but what is the general approach?
So we have taken over 300,000 data points related to 6 topics: oceans, forests, wildlife, sustainable living, sustainable energy, and waste management. All of this data has been cleaned, organized, and then aligned according to geographical position, and has been then placed in a model that essentially allows us to identify the top 20 to 50 priorities per country, depending, of course, on data availability, what I was speaking earlier, and can prepare basically the sustainability agenda of a country or of an industry. So these are the 2 parameters according to which, and if you want to learn more, just send me a message and I'll send you a hidden paper that we have.
Any other remarks?
I have a quick one, I think touches on the last question, but hopefully motivating a bit. You know, one problem with sort of thing about the long term with climate change is it's quite a long term, but the last time we had these sorts of situations was in the 50s and 60s, when overpopulation was a real threat, in part with worldwide famine and all sorts of other issues. And I think, you know, if you look back, it seemed daunting and impossible sitting there in the 50s and 60s. But a lot of that has improved over these intervening decades. And I think, you know, for us as panelists and our peers and anyone else interested, I think, you know, if you recognize there's a problem, you just find your little niche and work on it. And I think you can sort that out over time. I wouldn't really worry about, you know, if you're interested in this field, about the results not, you know, coming into play over proper results over your lifetime, right? And we've, you know, humankind's gone through this before, I think, relatively successfully. So I think that's one way to think about anything related to climate change.
Kind of to end on, let's say, a positive note, like, yes, we're not doing enough. Yes, we could be doing more, that's for sure. But there are a lot of initiatives and there are a lot of people who are working on solutions. I mean, we have about 450 companies that are committing to reducing deforestation from their supply chains. We have, you know, different funds being set up, whether it be older school ones like the Task Force for Financial Disclosure, or any other of the number of initiatives that have come out from different corporations and international organizations. This space is definitely growing for people who want to not only incorporate, you know, getting a job and waking up and making sure they're financially successful, but also contributing solutions to real problems as individuals and being a part of these initiatives. So whether it be the different companies that are here today or larger organizations, I think there's plenty of space and plenty of room to grow for people who really want to work on these solutions. So that's it.
Agreed. Actually, by also seeing all of these people asking to meet you and to talk with you, and there was a couple of people here, I think Antoine Deschamps said that he's also building a company measuring individual CO2 production through bank transactions, and would love to exchange with all of you. So there's a lot of people who are interested in this, and I think that would make the difference for sure. One question. Now with the new technological trends from the dawn of time till now, long span of time, guys, what is the main challenge with data analytics in climate change?
I think we kind of touched upon this also in the little exchange we had with you here. One is that data is biased, and the other thing is that data is lacking. So yes, we should not collect data for the sake of collecting data, but there's certainly in climate change a lot of data gaps related to just seeing what has been happening with deforestation and reforestation in certain geographies. And that would give us a bit of a better picture than can be used maybe by scientists or anyone that is building a company around this. So that's what maybe is useful.
Great point. Peter, would you like to also give a final remark?
Thinking about how the interpretation of data should be, this can be also something because you have really a lot of data and you have it from different sources, and sometimes it's also hard to understand what is right and what is wrong. And in terms of when it comes to air pollution, it's a really complex thing. It's maybe also a major answer why it is still such a big problem. It's not that with an easy answer, and therefore one big challenge is that you also can find ways to use this big data to find easier answers to certain problems, complex problems. Maybe that's just a little thing to add.
So, okay, so for me now there are four actually. There's the bias of the data, the lack of the data, the complexity of the data, and I think also what Lubomila said, the precision of like what type of data scientists should be looking at the data, because it's not always the same, right? But on this note, and on a high note as well, that there's a lot of initiatives, I would like to thank everybody for coming here and joining this discussion. Really happy to see founders doing something for good and generally changing the mindset of what exactly does a business have to do in order to be successful, and that actually we can also save the world by doing business. Yeah, would like to wish everybody a good evening. And if anyone wants to get in touch with the panelists, I think the easiest way would probably be LinkedIn, right? Good. Yes, everybody has been really enjoying the evening. Thank you so much for the conversation and hope to see you soon. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.